What's going on, everybody? It's Georgia Bulldog Will here, making my recap of the 2022-2023 New York Jets football season, which I'll tell you, it was a roller coaster of a season. It was one hell of a ride. Man, this season had its ups and its downs, but I'd say more of its downs because it didn't end the way we wanted it to end. Well, but what can you do? I mean, there's nothing much you can really do about it. All you can do as fans is just watch and see for yourself. And that's what we all did. So the Jets finished the 2022-23 season with a record of 7-10. So 3 more wins than the previous season. We had 4 wins last season, only finishing 4-13. 2 wins in 2020. So we have 7 wins. So we're going up, okay? We're getting better each year. I like the improvement. I'm happy with the improvement. But, this team we could have been in the playoffs this year, and the playoffs are happening right now. We could have been in the playoffs this year, but if you lose 5 straight games, or should I say, 1, 2, 3, or should I say 6 straight games, that's going to hamper your chances. I mean, 6 straight games to end the season, you can't go to the playoffs. You don't deserve it, and it just didn't look good for us. So we had to. There was no way we were going to the playoffs. So, well, it is what it is. So, before I talk more about it, I'm just going to go through all the scores of all of our games this year. So week 1 at home against the Ravens, we lose that game 24-9. I was getting frustrated because I was like, we got to start playing good football. So we start off 0-1. Week 2 at Cleveland, we win that game 31-30. Flacco with a pass to Garrett Wilson in the end zone. We make the extra point. Well, we recovered an onside kick in that game after the Corey Davis touchdown. Braden Mann with the amazing onside kick, and the Jets are able to recover it. And we drive down the field and we score the go-ahead touchdown. And then Ashton Davis with the interception to seal the win. Then week 3 at home against the Bengals, we lose that game 27-12. Another horrible game there on both sides of the football. Defense did bad. First drive of the game, I mean, they gave up that touchdown. The Bengals struggled in that game too, but we struggled a lot more than they did. All we could score was 4 field goals, so that's how we got our 12 points. So that loss put us at 1-2. Then week 4, okay, here's where things were starting to get good for the Jets. Week 4 at Pittsburgh, we win that game 24-20. Breece Hall with a rush up the middle, gets into the end zone, loses the football, but he's already down and in the end zone, so that was ruled a touchdown. We make the extra point. Then the Steelers try a Hail Mary to the end zone. Got it to the end zone, but LaMarcus Joyner intercepts it in the end zone. Jets win. They're back at 500, 2-2. Then week 5 at home against Miami. The Jets killed it. I mean, at first, yeah, we had a great first half. Second half, the Dolphins made a pushback. If they would have made that field goal, it would have been a huge difference. Yeah, that field goal. If they would have made that field goal, it would have made a huge difference in the game. But the Jets still had that 2-point lead, and then they just got off and running. Run game was amazing in that game. I mean, it was a wonderful game. It was an amazing, amazing game. The Jets beat the Dolphins 40-17 at home. Oh my goodness. Our first home win of the season, and that was our first win against an AFC opponent in like 3 years. I mean, we had like some losing streak against the AFC East. Well, let's see. We play them 6 times. We play every team twice, and there's 3 other teams, so that's 6. So 2026, last year 6. It was a 12-game losing streak to the AFC East, but we ended with a win against Miami. Then, so we're 3-2. The next week, we're on the road against the Green Bay Packers, and that was a big game for us, but Man, the offense comes through huge. The block punt. I mean, this is an offense, but the block punt that we took in for a touchdown, Will Parks, that was unbelievable. Brees Hall killed it. Zach played pretty good. And we shut down Aaron Rodgers, and it was an amazing game. We won at Lambeau. That's an honor. We beat the Packers 27-10, and we improved to 4-2. Then the next week at Week 7 at Denver, the Broncos. That was a defensive showdown. I tell you what, it was a defensive showdown. But that game, the game, it felt like a loss. It wasn't a win that we really celebrated. I mean, I was happy with the win over the Broncos because we hadn't beaten the Broncos in, 4 years, and we hadn't beaten them in Denver in like 12 years. So it was good to beat the Broncos. But why this game we didn't celebrate the win much because of our injuries. Brees Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker, two key players, were injured in that game, and we lost them for the rest of the season. But on the positive note, we did win the game 16-9, and we improved to 5-2, 3 games above 500. In Week 8, we had a huge, huge game coming up against the Patriots, and yeah, we blew it. We lost 22-17 to the Patriots at home. We dropped to 5-3. I don't want to talk about that game. That was a horrible offensive performance. It was just terrible. But Week 9 versus Buffalo, we needed a bounce-back win, and we got that bounce-back win. We beat the Bills 20-17. I mean, I was so happy with the win. I mean, I couldn't believe we beat the Bills. I was like, we beat the Buffalo Bills. The New York Jets beat the Buffalo Bills. I was like, oh my goodness. We just beat arguably the best team in the NFL. And we improved to 6-3. Bye week comes, and after the bye week, this is where things go bad. At New England, a rematch. Can we finally take him down? They say no. The punt return touchdown at the end. Zach Wilson played horrible. Offense couldn't do anything. Defense played their hearts out, kept us in the game. And then we just gave up the punt return touchdown at the end, and I was so angry after that game. I mean, you want to see me you wanted to see how angry I was this season? That was the most angriest I got this season. Was that game right there. That game really got to me. But next week, we try to rebound, and we do. We played the Chicago Bears at home, and we won 31-10 over the Bears. That was our first win against the Bears in 22 years, actually. But, I mean, that secondary, I mean, we're playing against a horrible secondary. Justin Fields is out. But you know what? I was happy with the win. Ty Johnson got that rushing touchdown. Elijah Moore got a touchdown. Garrett Wilson got 2. It was a phenomenal game. C.J. Mosley got an interception. Greg Zuerlein made a 57-yard field goal in pouring rain. It was a great game for the Jets. That was probably one of our best games this season. So we improved to 7-4. Now things get bad. Week 13 at the Vikings. It's a pretty hard environment to play in. The Vikings Stadium. I mean, it's not easy to win there. It isn't easy. But you know what? We put up a great fight in that game. We lost 27-22. Our red zone offense was terrible in that game. Defense kept us in at the end when we all thought it was over after the turnover on downs when Barrios couldn't catch the ball in the end zone. We all thought it was over, but the defense was like, nope, we are not out of this game. We shut them down. We get the ball back. We try, but Mike White throws an interception to end the game. And I'm not putting the blame on Mike. You know, that was just it was a hard game. It was a rough game out there, but it was a good fight by the Jets. So we dropped to 7-5. Then week 14 at the Bills, we look to sweep the season series against Buffalo. We're playing in Buffalo this time. And, well, it was a very none of the offenses could get going in the first half. Bills struck first with a touchdown. They were leading 7-0 going into halftime. But you remember, I'm pretty sure we had the ball to start the second half. And Zonovan Bam Knight gets his first NFL touchdown and ties the game for the Jets. But then the Bills take the lead back. Right. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, they do. They take the lead back. Then they just get like a bunch of field goals. We get a safety on a blocked punt by I think it was Jermaine Johnson. He blocked a punt and the ball went through the end zone for a safety, 2 points. Jets got 9. But then we got like a field goal. We had one last chance to drive down the field. I mean, let me just say this: Mike White was a true warrior in this game. I mean, he battled through 2 bad hits to the ribs. I mean, that's hard to do, man. That was a hard. That was a true warrior out there, Mike White. I mean, oh man, it was rough. So the Jets lost that game 20-12. They dropped to 7-6, only a game above 500. Week 15, against the Lions at home. This was the first. I went to this game against the Lions. I actually got to go to. I got to go to a Jets game this year. It was so much fun. I got to go to a Jets game this year. It was awesome. My first Jets game in 7 years. It was a true. It was an amazing experience. Unfortunately, we could not win that game. Zerline missed a 58-yard field goal to tie the game. Missed it way to the left. At first, we thought he got it. But when you look at the TV, it wasn't even close. But I'm not going to put the blame on him. The blame for that game went to Robert Saleh for terrible clock management. That's his fault. I'm not putting blame on Zach Wilson for that game. He actually played a good, solid game. Despite the one interception he threw, he was able to connect with Garrett Wilson. Had that circus throw had that crazy catch by Michael Carter. Hooked up with Jeff Smith. Hooked up with C.J. Uzomah for 2 touchdowns, which were the only 2 touchdowns we got in that game. But Saleh at the end with the terrible clock management ruined us. I mean, straight up ruined us. So yeah, we lost that game. Oh, speaking of Zerline, I forgot to point out, the game against Minnesota, he set the Jets record. He hit the longest field goal in New York Jets history at 60 yards, and it had more than enough on it. I mean, he cleared that crossbar, like say the crossbar's here. The ball was like here. I mean, he totally cleared it. It was great. So the Jets dropped back to 500 after that loss to Detroit. Jacksonville, a must-win game. The final home game of the season. It's a must-win game. We have to win to stay in the playoff race. After that fumble on the Jaguars' opening drive, it went all downhill. We got the first field goal, but then the Jaguars just took over for the rest of the game. Didn't get much, but our offense was terrible. Zach Wilson couldn't do anything. We tried to get something going with Streveler. I think if he didn't underthrow Uzomah on that deep pass, I think we could have gotten closer to the end zone. We could have potentially had a touchdown and been back in the game. But you can't always wish for you can't always get what you wish for. So I mean that we just had to deal with it. But the Jets lost to the Jaguars 19-3. We dropped to 500. We dropped to below 500 for the first time since week 3. And we were 7-8 after the 19-3 loss. But the Packers saved our season on Christmas Day by beating the Dolphins. If the Dolphins would have won against the Packers, our season would have been over before the Seattle game. But the Packers won, and they saved our season. But what do? We come out, and we lay a big fat egg in Seattle. We lose 23-6. Nothing gets going on offense. Defense with a horrible opening drive. I mean, it was just plain awful. That game was just terrible. It was a pathetic performance on both sides of the football. Zerline making 2 field goals. That's it. We lose 23-6. Drop to 7-9. And we miss the playoffs again. Again, 13 years. No playoffs. When is it going to happen? Next season? I hope so. And then week 18, a meaningless game against the Dolphins. I mean, all this game does is it determines our draft position, which, by the way, we're the 13th pick, by the way. And it would have been nice to win this game. I'd like to knock the Dolphins out of playoff contention. They lost today to the Bills, by the way. It was a good game. It would have been nice to knock the Dolphins out of playoff contention, but we couldn't do that. Tried to drive down the field, Flacco, but Dolphins defense, they were locked in, and they did good. And then the offense was set and ready to go. Skylar Thompson got him down the field, and led them to the game-winning field goal. We tried to do some lateral nonsense at the end of the game, and it results in the ball going in the back of the end zone or out the end zone, and that results in a safety. 2 points for the Dolphins. They win the game 11-6. An unusual score. You don't usually see scores like that in football. And the Jets end their season 7-10, 3 games below 500. So, what do I think about this season? Well, I'm happy with the improvement, but now it's playoffs or bust. Next season, Robert Saleh's job is on the line. If he does not, and I repeat, if he does not get this team to the playoffs, or at least a winning record. No, it's playoffs. I don't care about a winning record. I don't care if we get a winning record but don't make the playoffs. I want to be in the playoffs. I don't care how we make it. I just want to be in. I'm sick of not playing playoff football. It's been forever. The Jets haven't been in the playoffs since the 2010 season. That year we made it to the AFC Championship and lost to the Steelers. Since then, we haven't been in the playoffs. So when is it going to happen? When are we going to make the playoffs? All right? I'm sick of just sitting around and watching these other teams play playoff football, and we're just on the couch doing nothing. We're not in there. We're not in there. So when is it going to be? When are we going to make the playoffs? So